Language barrier is not the part of communication that's ruining your relationship if you're in an interracial or intercultural relationship like us.
I think it's way more than language when it comes to connection. Genuine connection, it doesn't really require, honestly, language. It's more than just language. It's about body language, it's about energy, it's about connection. So I've witnessed that a lot of interracial couples who doesn't really necessarily like speak their language fluently, but they're like literally they last forever, you know. And then vice versa. I've seen a lot of couples who speak like, you know, their language very fluently, or they just not interracial couple, but their communication is not all the way there. It's fucked up, or you know, and it has actually more problems than more than language barriers, you know.
90% of communication is actually body language. And
It
then
is.
and then the main thing that we've learned is the type of conversation that's being had. So there's three types of conversations. There's an emotional conversation, a logical conversation, and a social conversation. And unless you match the type of conversation with the person you're speaking to, you're not going to really be able to make a connection. So if the person is venting, or they're, you know, they're like, oh, so-and-so just is pressing my buttons, they're driving me crazy, they might not necessarily be looking for a logical solution. Not to, perhaps like you might say, well, why don't you just tell them how you feel? That's not what they want. If they're venting and they're in an emotional state, they're more likely looking for you to match that and just hear them out. And then if they're being very logical, like, I'm really trying to figure out how to XYZ, then you can provide feedback. So that's something that we've learned.
Yeah.
And it's really about the type of conversation that you're having if you want to make a connection.
Yeah. I think that relationships all about connection rather than language. And honestly, like, you know, like tell them about how my broken English like got in the way of a kind of miscommunication, but at the same time we all figured it out at the end, because like we truly wanted to have connection, you know, like our intention.
Well, yeah, for the first 2 years I didn't realize Jada's English was as broken as it was, because like at first glance, or like first time talking to her,
Surface level is good.
Surface level you wouldn't really know, but then I began to, you know, speak in more more slang and more figures of speech, and I realized that something wasn't clicking, and I often had to repeat myself, and it did. I had to. We sat down and we had a conversation, and she really explained to me like, oh, like I don't know what you're talking about some of the time, but it was that us communicating that helped us come to like a middle ground to where, oh, I could slow down a little bit, or I can ask if she's understanding, or, you know, I could take time to repeat myself, because sometimes you're speaking to someone that doesn't speak your language, and they have to actually process it. They can't just, subconscious mind can't just pick it up.
It's not our mother language.
Yeah, subconscious mind can't pick it up and decipher what you're saying. So you got to be mindful of that.
Yeah, I told you that, like, in order for me to truly understand completely about what you're saying, I need to actually pay attention. I need to like use my brain to pay attention to you, because English is not my first language, so I can't not just understand like in the background, like whatever you're saying in the background, I can't understand because I don't pick up. Like my brain doesn't pick up because it's not mother language. So it takes extra effort and actually like energy for me. And at the same time, also, I think that language barrier is not as important because there's so many other love languages. Like verbal language is one of them.
Like food.
Like, honestly, no. Like act of service, you know? Like that's how you show your love. Like by doing services for other people, for your other partner, or affection. That's another love language, you know?
Mhm.
Like you show your affection, and then like, you know, touching, like, you know, or hugging. That's another
Yeah,
language.
you don't have
There's
to
so
say
many.
anything.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a love language. It's you know, like verbal, like language is just a very small part of it. There's
Mhm.
so many other ways you can express your love, and as long as you truly show that side of it, and they have you want to have a like true connection with other partner, then the other one is gonna, you know, automatically understand what you're trying to do, you know.
And then acceptance too, because I accept that English, like you didn't learn English in America until you were well into your 20s. So I'm okay with repeating myself. I understand that's just part of the dynamic with our relationship.
Yeah.
Like 10 years later,
But then you didn't know in the beginning, though. You
I didn't know
had
in the
to repeat
beginning.
it.
It was
So
a
you
little
kinda
frustrating.
yeah, you were frustrated.
I'm like, why am I
because you
having to
didn't know.
repeat myself
Yeah.
so much? Like you speak English, but I didn't put myself in your shoes of, oh, you're not a native English speaker. Like you have to think about this. You have to, it's not something that's just, you haven't been doing it your whole entire life. You didn't grow up with it.
Yeah. It's actually funny if I say this because it might be funny to someone, but honestly, I've been thinking about this sometimes when we're in an argument and stuff, because I'm not like really fluent in English. English is not my mother language, so when we're in an argument and stuff, that kind of makes situation better for us. Because if I can speak like a Native American, then it could be really like, it could get crazy, you know?
You're gonna cuss
because
me
I'm
out.
gonna be like, you know. So it might be better for a relationship.
It's better
to
because
save it.
you have to reflect and you have to process.
I have to actually take time. What am I trying to say? Because I cannot really express with this second language, so I have to sit down and then reflect what I'm actually want to articulate, my emotions and what I'm feeling. So that gives me extra time to actually calm down.
Yeah. So you can't be as emotional as your mother language.
Exactly.
Because not as expressive. And
so it's a good thing. It is a good thing, guys.
Another good thing is when I'm talking to my friends, she doesn't know what I'm saying. So sometimes I'm talking to my friend in pure guy code, and you know, like you don't understand what we're saying, or like you just don't hear it. You don't pick up on the background. Not that we're saying anything about you, but
like I'm not snooping on you. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't be nosy if I want to.
I'm not saying anything that I shouldn't be saying, but
I don't think so. I don't think you should say it. You're just saying.
But sometimes it's nice to just have that layer of privacy without, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Because I might be like, oh, yeah, she did have a fat ass, and then you're like, who had a fat ass?
Yeah, that's true. And vice versa. When I talk in Korean with my family, like, you know.
Yeah.
It's like I have my own privacy, like forcefully, you know.
Yeah, you guys sound like you're yelling at each other.
Whoa! We're just chit-chatting though. We're actually like laughing. Yeah, so it might be, I actually think that it might be a better thing. It might be a good thing, you know?
That's a good thing to have.
It's a good thing to become more mindful.
But I do plan on learning Korean because we have plans of going to Korea. So yeah. I will learn your language and I'll be able to cuss you out in your native language.
Oh my gosh. So I like jokingly said before, like you should be thankful that I'm not a native speaker, because if we were like mad at each other, I'd probably like cuss you out or something.
Yeah, I'm not good at arguing on the spot either, so that is a good thing in my opinion.
Yeah.